spring. So stay tuned for more in-depth results. They're also looking at systems impact, and that's where Tim's work ties in here. This park system, this transportation system is not by itself. It's tied into our whole regional vitality. What are our industrial goals and our neighboring communities goals for this area? So that planning process is underway, and the Above the Falls Citizen Advisory Committee was created as part of the initial Above the Falls plan. The city and the park board came together and said, we want a standing committee of citizens to help provide input. And it's neighborhoods plus businesses plus environment. There's representation from all those interests. Mary and several other people here happen to be from neighborhoods, but they're also business representatives on the board as well. At this point, the Above the Falls Citizen Advisory Committee has open seats. We are going out to the neighborhoods and business groups and letting them know about the opportunity. In fact, there are a couple of people here tonight. I'm delighted to see Bruce and Chris, who are both Above the Falls Citizen Advisory Committee members who will look forward to being more involved. Mary, would you like to add anything about Above the Falls before we go on to other things going on?
Questions. Are there any questions about the committee and how it works?
And you can check out the city's website as well.
Right. One of the roles we play is when someone has a proposal for the area within Above the Falls. We don't have an official role in terms of saying yay or nay, but we are kind of the keeper of the plan, keeper of the vision. And so we look at it, Sierra is key on this because of some skills she has, and help the developer or project to work within the goals of the plan, but also for their project to be even better. And is Jim Rosenberg here? I thought he was here. Okay. He left. He has a plan for a marina, for example, that many of us think is really exciting. There's some challenges around it, but how the river benefits the business and the business benefits the river, the neighborhoods, et cetera, et cetera. So it's a real chance to get in and dig down deep and look at how does this work? How do the bike trails connect? How does the neighborhood interact with this business or this project? And so it's a really good way to get involved with how this is developing in a hands-on way. Anybody else on FCAC want to add anything? Yeah, we don't just sit around and
one of the things I'd like to add is that since the Above the Falls Citizen Advisory Committee was founded in about 2002, and our organization, the Minneapolis Riverfront Partnership, is pretty new. It's only 2 years old. We're a nonprofit organization with private and public leadership. The Above the Falls Citizen Advisory Committee is actually a commission of the city. So they're all volunteers. And some people said, well, why do we need a standing committee like that? And one example is with Boom Island Park, for example, they convene a citizen advisory committee, and then when the park plan's done, the advisory committee goes away. What's wonderful about the citizen advisory committee for the Above the Falls is that it's a standing committee, and you can really develop expertise, like many of the members have, on riverfront issues. So I encourage you to consider that. We're going to move on now,
I just want to say,
because we'll have time at the end for questions.
One of the things that people may not, is when you do something like Boom Island Park, it's a 2-year project. Above the Falls is a 50-year project. And so that's why the Citizens Advisory Committee is a 50-year committee. It's a long, you don't have to be on it for 50 years. You really don't.
Mary's working on it, okay? Okay.
We rotate people on the seats, but it's a long-term committee because it's a long-term project.
Thank you. So if you are interested, please buttonhole one of the AFCAC members after the meeting.
By the way, this is a copy of the Above the Falls plan. It's a that's when Cornelia is saying we've become familiar with it. You're welcome to look at it. It's online. It's a really exciting plan. So it evolves over time, but it's a very exciting plan.
So catch one of the members after if you have more questions. So I mentioned the city leading on the Above the Falls policy review. The other major initiative now going on, and there's a fact sheet there you can pick up on your way out if you're interested. The park board has just completed this international design competition, and the winning team will be under contract starting in early April. So next week, actually, their contract decision starts. And we'll be having public meetings as well. So stay tuned for that. They will be helping start out with what the framework will be for blending parks and trails into our urban fabric. That's their first step. Then they'll choose a site with community input to do specific design for in the next 5 years. So things are going to be moving on our riverfront. Part of this is thanks to Superintendent Jane Miller's tremendous partnership style. She's providing some great leadership there and a new day for the park board. I'd like to recognize Scott Freeland. Is Scott still here?
Yeah, we do have to vote on that.
That's right.
That's right. I think we'll support it.
And Scott represents this part of the Minneapolis Riverfront, so all those of you who live nearby, he's your park board commissioner.
And I also neglected to say that I'm a board member of the Minneapolis Riverfront Partnership.
Thank you, and on the executive committee, so thank you for your leadership. So the park board has the design competition, but the park board is also the implementing agency, the agency that gets things done on the upper riverfront for creating the parks and trails. The regional park plan, and that's part of the reason Tim's here as well, is the regional park in St. Paul is on the riverfront as well. That red shaded area on this is the Above the Falls approved park plan. Okay, so this is the plan for the city of Minneapolis showing the gaps in the system, and that is a big gap in the system. Okay, I'm sorry, and the National Park Service, Friends of the Mississippi River, the Mississippi Watershed Management Organization, the city, and the Minneapolis Riverfront Partnership are working together on land protection in this area. Who are we? The Minneapolis Riverfront Partnership. We are a champion for change on the riverfront. We help identify opportunities. We bring public and private resources to the table to act quickly and spotlight the Mississippi River. Within this, I've mentioned the policy review and the design competition. Our role as the Minneapolis Riverfront Partnership is to be a collaborator, to coordinate, and to ensure that there is public input in this process. We're working on coordinating on the upper river, as I mentioned before. This, I think those domes aren't there anymore. Somebody was saying recently, but that is the Upper Harbor Terminal owned by the city of Minneapolis. One of the other things we do is bring people to the river. We are planning an upper river destinations map that will show from downtown, actually near the Stone Arch Bridge, up to the city limits, places to experience the Minneapolis Riverfront. It'll include history, culture, arts, parks, and healthy ecosystem points of interest. So stay tuned, that should come out in June or July. We're also organizing walks and tours. Now I hope all of you picked up a comment sheet. Everyone get a comment sheet. On the back of that, there's some ideas for walks and tours. Please mark it up, okay? And give me your ideas. We will be doing probably every other week, North Minneapolis or Northeast walks and tours starting in May. And we need your ideas because that's how we'll shape the program. So let us know what you'd like to do. In the Central Riverfront last year, we did 10 Wednesday walks. And we did everything from going inside Excel's plant at the falls to actually having kids explore in the river itself. So it's a wide variety of programming depending on what people would like to do. The other way we bring people to the river is on our annual river tour. And Mary McGuire was our chair last year in this committee. Pictured here are some people from the Hawthorne neighborhood who were delighted to get out on a beautiful fall day. So look for that in early fall, our Mississippi Minneapolis River Tour.
That's on a boat.
On a boat, on the river, yes. So bringing the river to people as well as bringing people to the river. These river forums will be monthly for about 6 months. The Central Riverfront Forum, the next one is June 9th at the Park Board. The Upper River Forums will be at the end of the month every month for the next 6 months. We also are going out to all neighbor associations, business associations over the next couple of months. So if you'd like to have a presentation to your group, let me know. One of the specific projects we're working on is Green Fingers to the River, as Tim was talking about, and several other people commented. The people from Hawthorne commented. How do you get from Worth Park to the river? It's not just going up and down the river, but getting to the river. 26th Avenue North is emerging as a high priority. What is it in Northeast? We'll see. Marshall itself might be a very important investment opportunity.
And we just were finishing up the 22nd Avenue bike lane.
Great. So it's kind of an avenue of the arts in a way, going from Central Riverfront right across to the river, coming up by Mill City Cafe. One of the key priorities, and Mary was referring to this earlier, that we're working on is a kind of a model. The National Park Service has transportation funding to create a system along the Mississippi River so that you don't have to drive to the river. You can take a bus, take transit, take a bike, walk, have better access to the river. So our role is coordinating with the Met Council, the Park Board, the city, Nice Ride Minnesota, the National Park Service to put together a funding proposal. It's due in about 6 weeks. So the trick is to get busy city and park board staff to spend a little bit of time on something that might be small for them, but is big for the region. But that's one of the things we're working on. So just as a model, think of better signage on the grand rounds to know how to get to the river from where you are. Think about buses that can stop near the river more easily, and people who are in wheelchairs be able to access the river better. Think of riding light rail and seeing a sign at a nice ride station, so you can get off of light rail, get on a nice ride bike, go to the river, ride to Mill City Museum and park your bike. Have some lunch, get back on light rail and go to the airport, you know. So that kind of being able to get around and interact with the river without using a car. Part of that nice ride proposal is also, the National Park Service proposal is having more canoe launches. So one is proposed for North Mississippi Regional Park this summer. Can be put in a canoe launch up there. So think about biking to go canoeing and then getting transit back. How cool would that be?
How about a campground on the river?
Campground, yes. There will be camping at North Mississippi Regional Park this summer, actually, but I don't know if they want to call it a campground quite yet. This is CRS project. The Mississippi Regional Trail goes through our cities. It's a little hard to see in this visual, but the green is where it's already existing. The pink are trails that are on roads, and you'll see there are some important gaps here in our region. So going back to Dave's question, what can we do with policymakers to get change, is to ask questions, how are we going to connect those high priority gaps in the whole regional system? There are going to be some new nice ride stations going in, 42nd Lyndale, that's a coffee shop, 22nd Avenue at Mill City Cafe, Care About No Library, Park Board Headquarters, Boom Island. So look for those with National Park Service funding. Finally, one of the things we're doing this year is starting to establish benchmarks. What does it mean to have a vital, vibrant Mississippi River? We need to have ways to measure that to show how we're making progress. So we'll be working with both public agencies and with private citizens to help with that. So stay tuned. The next River Forum, River Forum will be at the Park Board headquarters on April 26th, 6:30 to 8. We're going to feature learning from other river cities. We're hoping that some people from Pittsburgh, River Life program, will come. They've also had an industrial riverfront that they're transforming. Pictured here is Scott Breland and Simon Plumber. So, and one of the inspiring stories for me is just to think how we can together work for better results on the riverfront. Sometimes you set a goal, very clear goal, and think, okay, this is how we're going to get there, and then you need to be flexible to be able to actually achieve that goal. The lower right picture here, Dakota leaders from all over Western United States came back to Minnesota last October for a conference, and they decided to start their day on the river by going to Nicollet Island for a drum ceremony. They were standing waiting on Nicollet Island, and somebody saw a red fox trotting down and across that little old railroad bridge to Boom Island. And everyone said, well, let's follow that red fox. We're going to have the ceremony on Boom Island instead. And being flexible about the environment around you, that this was particularly meaningful. I felt it was a very moving ceremony, bringing Native people back to the river here. The other symbol for me that I wanted to share is this mussel is about as big as my fist. This is pictured from when Brookfield Power was putting turbines in at the lower locks about 1.5 years ago. They lowered the water level. The water is full of mussels, healthy mussels. Otters now have come back to the riverfront. So change is the one thing we can count on in our lives, and what kind of change is it that we want to support? We want to have more mussels and otters in our river, and connect those trails. So please stay involved. Please fill out your survey, your input form, and leave that for us. Please consider serving on the Above the Falls Citizen Advisory Committee, or at a minimum, coming to these forums and sharing the information with friends, neighbors, acquaintances. And we look forward to seeing you once again at these forums and on the river. Mary?
And if you signed up, I hope you did, we have your email, and we will keep you informed. Thank you.
Thank you.
Help yourselves.